Good morning, everybody. As always, I'll start with our public safety update. Our homicides are down 25%, non-fatal shootings are down 21%, ag assaults are down 12%, robberies are down 19%, auto thefts are down 37%. But as I always say, this is not celebration. We have a lot of more work to do. And before I get into announcements, I want to again lift up the trying time in acknowledging that our fire department has been having. It's been an extremely hard week for the women and men of BCFD. It started, of course, last week with we had an first injury to Lieutenant Mark Drombeyer, who we know passed away. Then we lost EVD Charles Mudger, a 17-year veteran, and Anthony Smith, a retired firefighter and former deputy director of operations at OEM. We also obviously had that 7 alarm fire last week, and BCFD being the lead on the response to the tornado we had last week. Their family, friends, and loved ones are in our prayers. We will continue to support the brave women and men there, and our entire city is here to support BCFD as they grapple with the losses that they have endured, on top of the heroic work that they do every day. With that, I have 3 more items at the top today. Later this afternoon, I'll be hosting another telephone town hall with older residents in Baltimore City to talk about this year's budget proposal, talk about closing a lot of the budget gaps that we foresee, but also about the over $25 million that we invested through ARPA and local programs to support older adults. Second, as you all know, this is Artscape Weekend, not just Memorial Day weekend, but Artscape Weekend, and we are gearing up here in City Hall. As you know, this is the largest free outdoor art festival in Baltimore and one of the largest in the country. It's an opportunity to uplift and celebrate our artists. You can already see some of the preparations in action, including the light installations and a mural project when you go underneath 83, something that is making that space look wonderful. I want to thank Tanya Miller Hall and Lindsay Jackson for their work to making Artscape a beautiful, beautiful festival yet again. We've also got a ton of other events happening this weekend, including an Orioles game. Hopefully we break the streak, a metal festival, a conference at the convention center, and an event at the CFG Bank Arena. It is an exciting week in our city. Next to me is a map of road closures to accommodate the events. Road closures start at 3 p.m. on Friday. So we'll make sure we put this out on social media. The road closures, again, start at 3 p.m. on Friday. For those attending events, plan ahead and use public transit when you can, especially for Artscape and events downtown. We know when you think about Artscape in the past, folks might have questions about parking. You're going to have a lot more parking options than you had in Mount Vernon with the garages. Also, with the subway stops that you have that let you off right here near the footprint. And even if you want to take the light rail, you can walk over. Finally, Monday, as you all know, was the 100th birthday of Malcolm X, a leader who was uncompromising in his commitment to justice and fairness. And he had no patience for folks who recognize suffering and look the other way, especially right now. What we have happening in D.C., trying to erase the history of the civil rights movement, is important for us to reflect on his legacy, but also, in my opinion, to act as if he would act it in this moment. Thank you. I'll open it up for questions now. Ladies first. I just realized that Emily, there's only one Emily today. I know this is very weird.
Mayor, there was an 18-year-old shot in East Baltimore on Monday. We've had a string of violence here recently involving some of the city's young people. Is there any kind of update on the situation on Monday and any kind of response to what's been going on?
Yeah, the one on Monday is really personal for me. It's a young man that I've known most of his life. I was talking to his mother, doing Board of Estimates via text. And again, for me, Emily, when you hear me say that we're not in a point to celebrate, that's why. Because there are still too many people, despite us making historic reductions in gun violence, too many people that are being taken away far too soon. This is a young man who actually worked for the city now, for recreation and parks, who was a lifeguard and worked in the rec center as well. And when you know a young person and you know and you have to see the pain on his mother's face and hear that pain in his voice and know that she's a phenomenal mother and that she did everything she could to provide the best life for all of her children, and that someone would just snuff that out in an instant. That's why this work matters so much. That's why it's hard sometimes. That's why you will never find me in a position to be in a position of celebrating until nobody has to experience what my friend is experiencing right now. Because this young man was going to graduate from high school in a few weeks. His full life was ahead of him, and that just got taken away.
Here. Thank you. By the way, Mr. Mayor, I love your tie.
Thanks, sir.
Fantastic tie. Look, our team has been investigating acts of swatting over the past several weeks. It seems to be a major issue here in the city. What is your administration doing to crack down on illegal squatting, and more importantly, the social media networks based here in Baltimore that's fueling such activity?
So you guys may have just discovered it in a few weeks, but not me. I personally sent this directly to BPD over a month or so ago when someone sent it to me, and they are investigating in the proper channels. I won't go any above that because it's an active investigation, but this is something that I was alerted to, and I directed BPD to address themselves directly. But also that when you're talking about squatting, is when you have instances of squatting, which I've dealt with in my career in public service, it's not just about BPD. A lot of times you have to get landlords involved, you have to get the sheriff's office involved, sometimes banks. It's a complicated issue under Maryland law. But in these instances that you're talking about, I will just say that it's being thoroughly investigated by the police department.
If I may just follow up really quick, Mr. Mayor, places like New York City has cracked down. The mayor there, Eric Adams, has said that squatting is going to be a criminal activity. That was backed up, of course, by the governor as well in New York. Is your administration prepared to crack down on illegal squatting?
I think you're asking the question and you already got the answer. If I directed the police department to investigate, that means that we're investigating to criminal activity, period. It's an illegal activity, and we're going to work in every way that we can under Maryland state law to hold those folks accountable.
Chris. My colleague Tolly pointed this to me, Mr. Mayor, the Justice Department moving to drop police reform agreements with Louisville, Minneapolis. I don't know if you had heard that, but do you have any concerns that would have an effect on the consent decree here? Police relations moving forward, things of that sort.
Yeah, someone asked me this question last week, and I'll just say the same thing that I said then. When you're talking about our police consent decree, it's not just the Department of Justice. Ultimately, now it sits with the judge. We are going to continue the reforms no matter what happens. We are far too deep into this work where we're actually seeing the judge let us out of parts of the consent decree for us to turn back now, because we have been the model. We've shown that you can reform and historically reduce violence at the same time, right? If you were here a few years ago, you would never see an article like you saw in The Economist last week where it talks about Baltimore being the model for how to reduce violence in cities. But that's where we are today, and at the same time, we're the model for how you reform police departments. That's not changing for us.
And just going on for that, just because it's related, what's your comment on the fact that the DOJ is announcing this just a few days before the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's murder?
I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. Doesn't really matter to me. We know that George Floyd was murdered, period. Nothing anyone else is going to say is going to change that, because you, I, and everybody with an eye saw that happen live, right? We've seen the video. And I think that what we have to have in this country, Tyler, is an understanding that multiple things can be true at the same time, that we have to reduce violence, and that we have to make sure that our policing agencies are operating in a constitutional way, that those things aren't mutually exclusive. Not here in Baltimore, and they shouldn't be mutually exclusive nowhere.
Carson.
Mayor, what is your reaction to Governor Westmore vetoing the bill that would have created the Reparations Commission to study for the descendants of slaves? And would you encourage House Speaker Adrian Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson to override that veto?
Well, listen, I think anybody that doesn't understand that African Americans in this country are owed a lot of investment via reparations should really have a deeper thought. When you think about the wealth in this country and you trace the origin of that wealth for so many of these families and so many of these corporations, it goes back to slave labor. All right. And for me, I think that conversation should be had at the federal level, tremendously be had at the federal level, because we have to have that conversation. There are folks who want to ignore that the impacts of slavery still are seen every day, and that some folks are born without, and some folks are born with not just a silver spoon but a platinum spoon, because their ancestors owned people. Right? That's a reality. Whether the Speaker and the Senate President go for override, that's up for them to determine, not for me. I've never done that, even for a bill of mine that was vetoed in the past. I won't do that to them. But what I will say is that this country has to acknowledge that the impacts of slavery still are present today. There's not an argument. And in a country that gives out a lot of money to a lot of countries, in a country that spends a lot of money in outer space, if we have money for all of these things, we should have money. If we have the amount of dollars that we give to folks, quite frankly, who don't need it, who are wealthy, right? Extremely wealthy, the most wealthy people in the world, we have money to discuss this situation.
Do you support building a firing range for city police? And if not, what's the solution to fixing this bottleneck that's delaying new trainees from getting out in the streets?
So I think that I've had the conversation with the governor directly, and I think that we'll see a change and we'll be able to come to that agreement. I think that that's what we're going to be focusing our efforts, Tali, and I think that will be happening shortly.
So an announcement about a change will be coming shortly?
We're negotiating, as you know, as you heard from the Attorney General, but I've spoken to the governor directly about this issue even before the issue with the judge. But now I think we will get to an agreement in a much quicker fashion.
Emily.
You had mentioned the fire department has suffered a number of losses here recently, largely because of medical issues. Is there anything that you're looking to do to change policies within the fire department, focus on firefighter health in light of these losses?
Well, Chief Wallace and the team do a great deal of that, and obviously these are all still open and under investigation, Emily. But there are no indications that there was anything done wrong by anybody in the fire department in this situation, and we just have to continue to pray for them and lift them up, but also continue to the investments in the department that we're making. But I don't think that no one did anything wrong. These are just tragedies that happen and that are very unfortunate events, and we have to lift those families up.
You also just got back from ICSC in Las Vegas. Can you talk to us about anybody that you met with, anybody that you felt like was particularly productive meeting?
I won't give you details because, details from ICSC meetings come after there's agreements, but I had a very productive time in ICSC, as I always do. As you know me very well, Emily. I don't drink or gamble, so Las Vegas isn't a place that I typically would be going to because I live a boring life. But every time we're at ICSC, it's worth it. When you think about in recent years, right, as you and I talked before. Oh, that's you? Oh, sorry. I just want to make sure. I'm like, you and I have talked about that before in recent years, right? A few years ago, when I was out there, I was meeting with Chicago Trend, and now we're under way with renovating the Emerson Village Shopping Center, right? I thank the folks at Emerson Village who have sat there and saw this place look depleted for many, many, many decades, are very happy that we were able to do that. That's what this is about for us. This isn't for me. This isn't like a mini vacation. This is me literally meeting with people all day long. I was there for 3 days and I didn't touch a pool, right? Because this is about making sure that we're bringing things back to the city, and also meeting with people who have investments into the city to do check-ins. And we had some really good ones with folks who said they're very pleased with the city and looking for further ways to do investment.
You said it was very productive for you. Do you feel like it was necessary for all the council members to be there as well?
That's not for me to determine. You have to ask that question of them. I will never speak to someone else's agenda and what they were able to accomplish.
Chris, Dolly. Maryland Congressman Andy Harris saying this morning on Newsmax the President Trump's big beautiful bill has no chance of passing today. Cuts to Medicaid have been certainly talked about.
Yeah.
How much are you paying attention to that? Worried about the impact on Baltimore? That conversation in Washington.
Yeah, listen, the big ugly bill should not pass. And when you think about the cuts to Medicaid and the things, they would be devastating for communities across the country, including Baltimore, how that will impact our hospital system, especially our smaller hospitals. I'm thinking about the Old Bon Secure, right? I'm thinking about Harbor Hospital, like Sinai even. You're talking about cuts that will really hurt people. And I think that's an important thing for all Americans and Baltimoreans to be uplifted. And I'm hopeful that it doesn't pass.
Are all pools opening as planned this weekend, and any other announcements related to that for the public?
Well, they'll be ready to open, Tally, but as you know, this weekend it's going to be kind of chilly to go swimming. So we don't expect, we'll be moving the big splash so that, we're moving it to more weather appropriate. But yes, we're going to be ready to go. Rec and Parks has done a great job of that. And I think I want to, again, hint, I saw a story, I don't know where, about some pools only being open 6 days, right? We are talking about having the opportunity to make sure on that off day, that maintenance, preventative maintenance, which City Rec and Parks did not do in the past, which led to pools being closed for weeks or months and sometimes the whole season, that we're doing that now. All pools need to rest, especially pools like ours that get a lot of heavy use in the summertime. But we'll be ready to go. But I doubt that anyone's going to be trying to swim at 10 a.m. on Saturday when it's like 57 degrees.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.